Your phone buzzes with a text message at 11 p.m. It's your colleague asking for help with a project due tomorrow. You immediately respond, drop what you're doing, and spend the next 2 hours fixing their problem. The next morning, your boss sends an email asking if you can take on another urgent task. You say yes, even though your plate is already overflowing. A friend cancels plans with you for the third time this month, and you immediately reschedule, making yourself available whenever they want. In that moment, you feel helpful, reliable, indispensable. But here's the devastating truth nobody tells you. Every time you make yourself immediately available, every time you say yes without hesitation, every time you respond instantly to every request, you're teaching the world that your time has no value. You're training people that disrespecting your boundaries is free. You're becoming background noise in their lives. Today, we're going to explore the uncompromising principle of strategic scarcity, why being too available is the fastest path to being taken for granted, and how to transform from someone everyone uses into someone everyone respects. The modern world has weaponized our natural desire to be helpful. We've been conditioned to believe that availability equals value, that saying yes equals strength, that immediate response equals reliability. But this is a trap. In a world where everyone is constantly connected, constantly available, constantly saying yes to everything, the person who maintains boundaries, who creates scarcity, who says no strategically becomes revolutionary. They become the one everyone wants to reach, the one whose time is valuable, the one who commands respect simply by being selective about when they engage. Consider this scenario. Person A responds to every text within minutes, always says yes to every request, makes themselves available 24/7, and never enforces boundaries. Person B responds thoughtfully rather than immediately, says no to requests that don't serve their objectives, maintains clear boundaries around their time, and creates scarcity around their availability. Who do you think gets more respect? Whose time is valued more? Who commands more influence? The person who's always available or the person who's strategically scarce? Niccolo Machiavelli understood this dynamic when he wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." In our modern context, this means it's better to be seen as someone whose time and attention are valuable and scarce than someone who gives them away freely to anyone who asks. When you're always available, you're teaching people that your time has no value. When you create scarcity, you're teaching them that your engagement is a privilege. The first law of strategic scarcity is what I call calculated unavailability, the deliberate practice of creating space between requests and responses, between invitations and availability. This isn't rudeness or disinterest, it's strategic positioning. When someone asks for your time, when someone needs your help, when someone wants your attention, the strategically intelligent individual doesn't immediately make themselves available. They consider the request, evaluate its alignment with their objectives, and respond in a time frame that communicates value rather than desperation. Think about the last time someone asked you to do something, and you immediately said yes and dropped everything to help them. In that moment, you communicated that their request was more important than whatever you were doing. You taught them that your time is less valuable than their convenience. But what if, instead of immediately saying yes, you responded after considering the request? What if you created a small delay that communicated that your time requires consideration? What if you occasionally said no, not because you couldn't help, but because you're selective about where you invest your energy? Machiavelli captured this perfectly. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The fool makes themselves immediately available to everyone, says yes to everything, and becomes background noise. The wise person creates scarcity around their time and attention, making their engagement valuable precisely because it's not given freely to everyone about everything. In the digital age, this principle becomes even more critical. Every immediate response, every instant availability, every 24/7 accessibility creates a pattern that others learn to exploit. The person who responds to every text within minutes is training people that their time is always available. The person who always says yes to every request is teaching others that their boundaries don't matter. The person who makes themselves constantly accessible is becoming the person everyone takes for granted. Meanwhile, the strategically scarce individual remains valuable precisely because they're not always available. They don't respond to every message immediately. They don't say yes to every request. They don't make themselves accessible 24/7. This isn't arrogance, it's strategic positioning. The second principle of strategic scarcity is boundary enforcement. The uncompromising practice of saying no to requests that don't serve your objectives, even when saying yes would be easier in the short term. This requires understanding that every yes you give is a no to something else. And every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're devaluing your own time and energy. Most people say yes because they fear conflict, they want to be liked, or they believe that availability equals value. But this is backwards. True power comes from the ability to say no strategically, to enforce boundaries ruthlessly, and to make your time and attention scarce precisely because they're valuable. Consider two professionals in the same industry. Professional A always says yes to every project, every meeting, every request. They're constantly busy, always available, perpetually overwhelmed. Professional B is selective about their commitments, says no to opportunities that don't align with their goals, and maintains clear boundaries around their time. Who do you think commands more respect? Whose time is valued more highly? Who appears more successful? The person who's always available and always busy, or the person who's strategically selective and maintains scarcity? Machiavelli understood this when he observed, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." In modern terms, this means it's better to be respected for your boundaries than liked for your availability. The person who can be manipulated through guilt, obligation, or the fear of saying no is weak regardless of their position or resources. The person who enforces boundaries strategically is powerful because they cannot be taken advantage of through emotional leverage. In professional settings, this means not taking on every project, not attending every meeting, not making yourself available to everyone at all times. It means recognizing that your time is your most valuable resource and treating it accordingly. The person who says yes to everything becomes the person everyone dumps work on. The person whose time is considered free. The person who's always busy but never respected. The person who says no strategically becomes the person whose time is valued, whose expertise is sought after, whose engagement is considered a privilege. The third law of strategic scarcity is value signaling. The practice of communicating through your actions that your time, attention, and expertise are valuable precisely because they're not freely available. This requires answering a simple question before every commitment. Does this serve my objectives? Or am I just making myself available because I'm afraid to say no? Most people make themselves available to relieve social pressure, to avoid conflict, or to feel needed. But emotional relief is not strategic value. In fact, it's often strategic cost. When you always say yes, you've satisfied your need to be helpful, but you've also signaled that your time has no value. When you respond immediately to every request, you've shown that you're always available, but you've also taught others that your boundaries don't matter. When you make yourself constantly accessible, you've demonstrated reliability, but you've also become the person everyone takes for granted. The strategically intelligent individual understands that scarcity creates value. They're willing to say no, to create delays, to maintain boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable in the short term, because they understand that long-term respect comes from strategic scarcity, not constant availability. This isn't about becoming cold or unhelpful. It's about becoming intentional. It's about recognizing that your time, attention, and energy are finite resources and treating them accordingly. When you create scarcity around your availability, you gain the power to choose where you invest your energy. You become unpredictable to those who would take advantage of you, and you become unstoppable in pursuit of your objectives. In negotiations, this means not being immediately available for every discussion. In relationships, this means not always being the one who makes time for others. In leadership, this means not making yourself accessible to everyone at all times. The person who can maintain boundaries, who can say no strategically, who can create scarcity around their time and attention, this person commands respect and wields real power. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because it belongs to everybody to see you, to few to come in touch with you." In our modern context, this means people will judge you by how you value your own time, how you enforce your boundaries, and how you create scarcity around your availability, not by how immediately you respond to every request. When you're always available, you reveal that your time has no value. When you create scarcity, you project authority. The ultimate goal of strategic scarcity isn't to become unavailable or unhelpful. It's to master the value of your own time and attention. It's to reach a state where your availability is a privilege, not an expectation, where your engagement is valuable precisely because it's not given freely to everyone about everything. This doesn't mean becoming cold or disconnected. It means developing what I call strategic availability. The ability to be helpful and engaged while maintaining boundaries that communicate value. When someone requests your time, you consider whether it serves your objectives before making yourself available. When someone needs your help, you evaluate whether helping them advances your goals before saying yes. When someone wants your attention, you recognize that your attention is valuable and treat it accordingly. The unmovable force understands that true power isn't the ability to be available to everyone. It's the ability to be selectively available to those and situations that serve your objectives. It's the ability to maintain boundaries while others compromise theirs for temporary social approval. It's the ability to create scarcity around your time and attention while others give theirs away freely. In our hyper-connected, always available world, this kind of strategic scarcity is revolutionary. While others are constantly accessible, always saying yes and perpetually available to everyone, you operate from a place of strategic selectivity and intentional boundaries. The principles I've shared today aren't about becoming unavailable or unhelpful. They're about reclaiming the value of your time in a world designed to make you constantly accessible. They're about trading the temporary satisfaction of being needed for the lasting strength of being respected. In the digital age, where everyone is always available, constantly connected, and perpetually saying yes, the person who operates differently becomes magnetic. The person who maintains boundaries, who creates scarcity, who says no strategically, this person stands out like a beacon in a sea of constant availability. The choice is yours. Remain constantly available, always saying yes, and forever at the mercy of those who know your time has no value. Or develop the strategic intelligence to create scarcity, enforce boundaries, and become truly powerful. As Machiavelli understood centuries ago, and as our always connected age has made more relevant than ever, true power lies not in being available to everyone, but in being strategically available to those and situations that serve your objectives. The less available you are, the more valuable your time becomes. The more you say no, the more your yes means. The more you create scarcity, the more respect you command. The path to power through strategic scarcity is uncompromising because it requires you to resist every instinct our always available culture has programmed into you. But for those disciplined enough to value their own time and enforce their boundaries strategically, it offers something invaluable. Control over your own availability, immunity to being taken for granted, and the kind of power that comes not from being needed by everyone, but from being respected by those who matter.